What's up, everybody? Giancarlo here from Bad Beats. Today, I would like to talk about Dark Broly. I've been talking about Dark Broly a lot. Obviously, I'm a Broly boy. My teammate Rashad's also a big time Dark Broly player. We've just been playing the hell out of this deck all of set 11, and we're still going to keep playing this deck in set 12. I'd like to give some of my general thoughts on this format, the next format, and where Dark Broly fits into that. So if you want some Dark Broly advice, this video is going to be good for you. I'm not going to get too in depth on matchups. I've already done that in a lot of other videos or in the Hermit Style podcast. So I'll include the links to those in the description. And if you want a more in-depth view, you can check those out. Okay. So let's talk about set 11 in general. There are some decks I left out, like Invoker, but I'm not really going to talk about that. I wanted to give a pretty brief overview of how I think set 11 is in relation to Dark Broly. Another last side note is I put Soul Striker leader here. There's like 6 blue leaders you could play. Probably they're all the exact same. You have like Soul Striker, Zamasu, Baby, whichever ones I'm forgetting. It doesn't matter. Every blue deck basically does the same thing, and they're all relatively competitively viable. Okay, so based on personal experience and based on the topping statistics, the two most played decks this format were Gotenks and Vegex. Every tournament I've gone to, I've played multiple Gotenks or I've played multiple Vegex. Every top has multiple. These just statistically, these are the most played decks of the format. As a Dark Broly player, I feel as if I'm favored against both decks. I have pretty much destroyed every Gotenks I've played so far in tournament. It's not that they're just horrible players. It's just that like the matchup I think is heavily favored in my favor. Gotenks is too linear and it doesn't do enough as quickly as Dark Broly can to really win the matchup. It has to rely on drawing like as many dormants as possible just to survive and then trying to sneak a win with the secret rare. But that's just not very likely because I'm also controlling their hand at the same time. Vegex is Vegex. It has an incredibly high ceiling. I think it's favored in Dark Broly, the matchup. But again, Vegex sometimes can just like Royal Flush kill you, and there's not much you can do about it. So, based on like I said, based on my experience, based on topping, if you go to a tournament and 50% of the room is either playing Gotenks or Vegex, more than likely you're going to play multiple of them that tournament, and you're probably going to win just by playing well. So you're favored as playing Dark Broly to get a pretty easy ride into top 8. We also have Sin Shenron, probably the best yellow deck at this point. I said really definitely the best yellow deck. Again, I think it's favored. As a Dark Broly player, I've been destroying Sin Shenrons left and right. After game 1, it gets a little bit more complicated. There's certain cards that they can be side decking that, something like Vegeta Unison that prevents cards from attacking can be good. It's just, again, there's just little things after game 2 and 3 that make it more hard. But overall, you're just more favored. Sin Shenron really just can't win against you. I've been ulted multiple times, and I've survived through the ult multiple times. I just think you're favored. Red Broly is where it gets a little tricky. I would say it's a light 50-50. There are a lot of things that Broly can do. Okay, well, let me rephrase, right? Because I need to be specific when talking about which Broly. There's a lot of things that Red Swap Broly can do that win them the game. There's a lot of things that Dark Broly can do that can edge the matchup into their favor. A big factor is whether they main deck Violent Rays or not. If they're not main decking Violent Rays game 1, I'm probably just going to win. If they side in Violent Rays, game 2 and 3 gets a little tricky. Things like Makekabura are certainly a factor in winning. Black Massaian can be a factor if they don't draw the Piccolo Unison, Piccolo Jr. They pretty much always do draw Piccolo Jr. That deck draws a shit ton, so it's not like they're going to be missing cards. But I'm going to say it's a light 50-50. It is what it is, right? As for blue, again, blue also feels like a light 50-50. There's a lot of things that either deck can do that will benefit them. Blue just stalls, right? So they do Heroic Prospect, God Sealing, Secret Rare, Baby Hachijack. All they do is stall until they can win. It just depends on how many they draw. You know what I mean? Using Makekabura, I can lock them out of playing Heroic Prospect. Um, so if they don't have Secret Rare, the turn that I play Makekabura, I can win. Um, you're probably going to go to like turn 6 or 7 against blue. And I mean, I would say it's no worse than 50-50. After game one, I can side in Devilman, and that makes the matchup kind of better in my opinion. So, set 11, Dark Broly was a really strong choice. Statistically, 3 of the top 5 decks, you have a good matchup. The other 2 decks are just less played. We've seen less blue and we've seen less red Broly played than Gotenks and Vegex. So just purely on a numbers game, I think that Dark Broly was a very good choice for set 11. I had a lot of success with it. My teammate Rashad had a lot of success with it. I think there's been a couple other tops. And I think the deck was absolutely slept on in set 11. I think moving into set 12, we're going to see a lot more Dark Broly. Also moving into set 12, all of these decks are still playable, right? Of course, Sin Shenron's getting support. Vegex may or may not get hit with a Banhammer of some kind. We'll see. Gotenks is probably still the best green deck. Red Broly is probably still the best red deck. I don't think any of these decks disappear when we move into set 12. We also have decks like Invoker that exist. I'm sure I'm just forgetting random decks that have seen play this format, but I'm not an encyclopedia. I can't remember everything, right? Moving into set 12 now. This is pretty much all the leaders coming out from the set. I've been testing for about 2 weeks. I have played with or I have played against every single one of these decks. The thing is that it's not like you can't unlock the secrets of a format in 2 weeks, and you're not going to have the most optimal deck list in 2 weeks. So the things I'm going to say about set 12 are not like I'm confident that they're not going to be 100% correct, or they won't remain correct through the entire format. You know what I mean? It's only a matter of time before somebody comes up with an optimal build or a better strategy with a certain leader that can elevate a deck into a higher tier level. And, I think we will see that at some point in set 12. And it's going to be a very brief overview. I'm not going to spend 30 minutes talking about every single deck because it's not what the video is about. I will say that, again, I do think set 11, every deck from set 11 has a place in set 12. I don't think any of them get power crept at all. Set 12 feels very balanced. And I will say, honestly, without any hesitation, Dark Broly absolutely destroys every single one of these decks. In testing, I haven't had any close matchups whatsoever. Dark Broly is honestly just too good, in my opinion, right? If you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. Obviously, I'm not just saying that to be cocky, right? But I am, I want to learn, right? So, when you want to get better as a player, it's good to hear other people's perspectives. So if you're a Turles player and you think Turles has a good matchup and you have a really good Turles build, hey man, feel free to comment. Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me I'm stupid. Tell me why I'm stupid. And I would love to hear your opinion. So again, this is just my opinion on set 12, and it's going to be pretty brief, okay? Mecha Freeze is the best leader out of set 12. This leader's broken. It's only a matter of time before somebody breaks the deck. And it's pretty clearly a step above every other leader. Whis is cool. I've been playing a lot of Whis. It's pretty fun. It doesn't have, I don't think it has what it takes to be a high level competitive deck, but it is a fun deck. This Golden Freeze is trash. Don't waste your time. I don't think Turles is that playable. A lot of its shit is just combos for 3K, and in an aggro format, that shit just isn't gonna fly. Its battle cards don't do enough. They don't attack well on the Awaken side. It has really good cards. Some of the cards, like the Fruit of the Tree of Might, is a good card. The card, I don't know their names. One of them summons a blocker. That's a pretty good card. But I don't think the deck as a whole is playable. I think Slug is horrible. I don't really care about it. Any deck that lets their opponent draw 10 cards is bound to be bad because they're going to find their win con faster than you. Your win con is a turn 5. I will say Slug has one of the best 4-drops ever. It's like a Slug Xeno. When it comes down, it either puts a Unison in drop or clears your opponent's entire board. Just in terms of value, that's a very strong 4-drop. Although it's a generic green. You can play it in any green deck. It's a pretty cool card. It doesn't have deflect though, so it's not like it's going to win the game when you summon it. PyCon I think is cool. It has like cool gimmicks, but it's just another blue leader that might see play. This Janemba leader is trash. The Janemba package, the Janemba Xeno package, is really, really good. I've been playing it a lot. It's so much fun. I'm definitely going to try to play it at some point. It's only a matter of time before it tops. It's a good enough deck, but not this leader. It's going to be played in a different leader. King Piccolo is actually my favorite leader from this set. It's either the second or third best leader. I'm not sure if Toa is better, if King Piccolo is better. Once I get the promos, I'm pretty much just going to start playing King Piccolo for fun in set 12. I hope to top some random event with it. I think it has the potential. It's a really good deck, but it is weak to like Red Broly. It would get destroyed by Red Broly for sure. Launch is fun, man. I don't think launch is super competitive. I think someone will eventually top with launch. People love Red Earthlings, including myself, man. I played Pan, I played Yamcha, I played Bulma. I've been playing launch. It's a fun deck. I think someone will eventually top with it. I'm sure somebody like Travis Washburn, who's known for playing Red Earthling decks or just red decks in general, probably already has a really good build. He may or may not top with it. I don't know. Toa and Makekabura, probably the second best leader. Again, I don't know if she's better than Piccolo or not. She has a pretty high ceiling. Their turn 3 is pretty strong. It's one of the only leaders with really good draw power. It has good creatures. It has a good awaken. It self-awakens. Like everything about this leader is just good. It's probably the second best leader from the set overall. Shroomed and Salsa, I don't particularly respect this deck. I don't think it's that good. It feels like just an average creature-based deck. It's really easy to play around. In testing, like after like one turn, I learned how to play around it, and then I like never lost to it because it has a really glaring flaw when you learn how to play against it. And then Gogeta, I'm not a huge fan of this leader. It feels like a worse Vegex, honestly. Like if your deck can beat Vegex, it's probably going to beat Gogeta. I will say that Gogeta got the best promos, and we have seen how much TPs can bolster a deck's success. Gogeta got the best promos. Piccolo got like probably the second best promos. No other promos really stood out in my mind as being amazing other than those two. Whis' promos were okay, but just in general, Gogeta feels like a pretty not horrible deck. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. Okay. Now, why did I say Dark Broly will destroy all these decks? I think there's 3 main factors, and I'm going to break them down one by one, okay? First, we have Disruption. Disruption comes in the form of counterplay and floodgates. Now, Black as a whole doesn't have that many good counterplays. I myself only play like one card that has counterplay in the side deck, so we are focusing on floodgates, okay? We have Black Mass Saiyan. At this point, we know what Black Mass Saiyan does. It's been out since set 5. You've either played it or you've played against it. It's really annoying, right? Obviously, it's very susceptible to removal. It's just a 1-drop 5k, right? It's going to die. Playing it on turn 1 will not win you the game. However, playing it at the right time will turn the tide into your favor. And he's a very strong card. You just have to know when to play him. Makekabura, however, will just win you the game when you play him. I've gone so far as to say that this card should be banned. It's so broken. Eventually banned. Not banned right now, but this is probably the best card in the deck. It's so good, man. If you're playing Dark Broly and you're not playing Makekabura, I like highly, highly recommend you play Makekabura. It's so good, man. Every deck right now is crazy linear. You have something. I've talked about this card 100 times. Gotenks, Broly, Shenron. These are all linear decks. They all do the same thing every single turn. Cutting them off from their entire turn for 2 energy is too strong. And then we have Protector of the People. This is a flood negate. Oh, excuse me. It's not broken or anything. It's just a good card. I would say it's worse than Violent Rage. It's worse than Dormant Potential. It's probably about as good as Nimbus, where like it's not impossible to kill somebody through a Nimbus. It's not impossible to kill somebody through a Protector of the People. But it is a pretty good card. There's a lot of times where if you play Protector, your opponent's turn is just over. So it is a good enough card. It just doesn't shine in certain matchups, is what I would say. The second reason is removal, or you could call it board disruption. There's spot removal and then there's mass removal. Spot removal, some people call it targeted removal. Basically, I play cards that can target a single card and just warp it. And we have Dark Broly, Uncontrollable Berserker, or Demon God Demigra for that. Um, I find a lot of decks in set 12 are flooding board. A lot of them are not drawing cards, but they are putting cards on board. And it just becomes easy to play the game when that is the factor because I can just, if you have two battle cards and one of them is in rest mode, I can just summon Demigra, pop one, attack one, drop a card from your hand, and just pretty much for free and for no card cost, I've just like shifted the entire game into my favor. I can also just do that for 0 energy, you know what I mean, with my Dark Broly. Um, in terms of mass removal, like something like Turles that can play like 3 battle cards on turn 1, or really the first turn they can attack, they can just flood the board. Or even like really Vegex, right? Like I can just Secret Identity starting from turn 2 pretty much and clear your entire board, or if not, multiple cards on your board. Supreme Kai I can't play until turn 3. I've seen a lot of talk about this secret rare. Honestly, if you think this secret rare is bad, you are 100% wrong. This is the best black secret rare, quote unquote. Let's not forget Black Smoke. This is the best black secret rare for more aggressive black decks. Certain decks don't want to charge to 5 energy, and certain black decks also cannot. What is dark? It's like basically like Sparking 12 or some shit. I don't remember the exact text, but um, a lot of black decks either don't have 12 cards in drop and they don't have 5 energy. So the fact that on turn 3 she cost 1 energy makes her the best black secret rare for black aggro decks. You can also, I play her in my King Piccolo build at this point. She's just a really, really good secret rare. The fact that she clears unisons really makes it. So side note, if you think this secret rare is bad, you're wrong. But anyway, so because I have targeted removal and I have mass removal, it just makes Dark Broly so strong when fighting for board. Not only do I have removal, but my battle cards are so big that you can't really attack over them. No battle cards really attacking over a 30k. With you know what I mean? It's not happening. Yeah, in the mirror match, a 30k can attack a 30k pretty effectively, but you know what I mean? No, even like a 25k isn't really going to clear my Demigra. You know what I mean? So you have the best creatures on board. We then finally we come to hand advantage or hand disruption. Again, a lot of decks are flooding board and they only have like 6 cards in hand, or maybe 8, anywhere from like 6 to 8. I've noticed in set 12 that the hand size has diminished. Set 11, everybody had like 12 cards in hand the whole game, whereas in set 12, like people are really capping out at 10 cards and then they're dropping to 6 cards very quickly, at least against Dark Broly. And so because of that, like even just one Demigra, who not only is Demigra spot removal, but he's also hand advantage creator. When you swing, your opponent has to warp a card from their hand. Um, this card is just so strong. He's so good against negates. If they demagic, they have to discard it. They have to warp another card from their hand. Again, one of the best cards in your deck. It's either this or Makekabura. So they're just so good. Revived Ravager, he hits hand. He also hits drop area. So drop disruption, it is a thing. In some matchups, it doesn't matter. In some matchups, it does matter. I didn't put it in a slide simply because like it's not a huge factor. It's just a little bonus that you can do. So the fact, again, he's a 30k. He comes out, he's a +1. If you want to count removing a Riberian from drop area as a +1, you can. It's not like wrong to do that, but realistically, it doesn't matter. And then we have the new 7-drop Dark Broly. He either hits life or he hits field, hand, and drop. So this guy is also, he's board disruption, hand advantage, drop advantage, all in one. So again, all of my battle cards are just better. They're super low cost. They're all anywhere from 0 to 2 energy. They're like 30k attackers. They're all +1 on summon. Demigra's like a +3 if he goes uncontested. So something like King Piccolo where they're summoning like 15Ks and it's like, well, that's really cool and all, but I'm going to summon a Demigra, attack your unison. You have like 7 cards in hand to my 14, like I'm just not going to lose. It's really simple. Same thing with Toa. Toa is a deck that requires removal to beat, in my opinion. Like they have there's like different versions of Toa. You have an offensive version, you have a defensive version. If you're playing against the defensive version of Toa, you like need removal in order to win. And because I can just remove everything for free, I don't feel like I'm losing that matchup. So those are some of the reasons I think that Dark Broly is one of the best decks moving into set 12. I want to talk about just a couple cards that I've seen people being played, see people not playing certain cards, and now I just want to talk about certain cards from set 12 and my opinions on them. Topo is bad. Topo is not a bad card, but it's bad in Dark Broly. Every single list I see is now playing Topo. I don't know why you ever want to waste time leaving 2 energy up for Topo. Every deck I've seen that plays Topo, I've seen them play, and they play the entire game with just 2 Topos in hand because you're tapping out every turn and you can't play it, or you're not tapping any energy for it. You're not progressing game state. You're not summoning Demigra. You're not summoning Makekabura, and you're just leaving energy up for Topo. Topo is just not that good. Topo is really good against bad decks. Bad decks with low hand sizes and no real way to swing through Topo. That's when it's good. But against any other deck, man, I just don't think it's good. I haven't played Topo since Unisons came out. It's a really easy trap for red players to fall in because you just think it's one of the best red cards, but it's really not. Now, obviously, in other red decks it's good, but in Dark Broly, you do not need Topo. I see list playing Topo but not playing Makekabura, and it's like, why would you want to stop your opponent from attacking when you could just stop them from playing? Period, man. Topo is not where it's at. You do not need this card in Dark Broly. Now, on the flip side, Son Goku True Fighting Spirit. This card is so good, I wish it was not printed. It has Deflect. When you attack with it, you can take a life, gain 10k. That's nice. It helps you self-awaken. But really, it's once per turn is if your leader card is a Black Saiyan card, when your opponent activates a counter skill, they choose one card in their hand and send it to the warp. Now, this card does not have unique, so you can play multiple copies. Anytime your opponent plays a counter, they just warp a card from their hand. You combine this with, let's say you combine this with Demigra, right? This is a card you want to play on turn 1. Demigra is a card you're going to play on turn 2, of course. 1, 2, swing. For the rest of the game, if you can't clear either of these targets, because let's say I'm playing against Sin Shinron, right? Yellow doesn't have good removal. What are you going to do? Like, are you going to Nimbus? If you Nimbus, you lose 4 cards out of your hand. If you Dormant Potential, even if you clear my 1-drop, you lose 4 cards out of your hand. If you Dimension Magic, you lose 3 cards out of your hand. This card is a huge value buff. I've seen people have told me this card is bad. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. People have told me this card is not good enough to be played. I'm telling you, you are wrong. It is funny. Right now, it's in my sideboard. Like, I couldn't even find room in the deck to mainboard this. But I'm going to have to get a little weird with some ratios to do more testing. This card could very easily fit into the main board. Where this shines is blue. They can't even God Seal without discarding 2 cards from their hand. And so this card is just going to be huge against blue. Blue doesn't play a lot of removal, and even blue that does play removal is going to have to pick and choose. If I have this and a Demigra on board, and blue gets to remove 1 card per turn, like let's say Zamasu leader, are they really going to pick my 1-drop over my 30k Demigra? It puts them in a lose-lose scenario. Blue is good at grinding and stalling the game to a halt. Because I can play multiple copies of this starting from turn 1, at any point, if they can't remove it, any negate they play is just going to pretty much lose them the game because they're going to have to discard anywhere from 2 to 4 cards out of their hand playing any negate. So this card is absolutely amazing. I really want to find room in the main deck. Right now, I'm siding it at 3. It's absolutely amazing card. Now, another thing I see Dark Broly players doing is they're all leaning on the 7-drop. And I see people, I've talked to like 5 different people who have asked me about the 7-drop and say like, oh, is it broken? Is it broken? It's a fine card, man. Is it better than Demigra? No. 7 times out of 10, Demigra is better. There's one word on this 7-drop Broly that makes this card better than Demigra in some scenarios, and that is Deflect, okay? Obviously, if my opponent has a blue Unison and a God Stealing in hand, I'm obviously going to summon the card with Deflect. That's common sense. It makes no sense to try to summon Demigra. But in the early game, Demigra is always the better choice. On turn 2, I'm always going to summon Demigra before I summon the 7-drop. Simply because Demigra on play is a +3 if he goes uncontested, and then he swings and he deals a damage, okay? If I play 7-drop on turn 2, all he does is deal a damage. Now, critting a life is good. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm happy if I crit a life. But if my opponent is at like 8 life, they don't care if they take 1 damage. That's not why you want to play him. There's 3 scenarios I can think of off the top of my head where Dark Broly is better, okay? Number 1, I already said, is deflect. Anytime deflect is relevant, obviously Dark Broly is going to be better. Simple. Number 2 is if I want more attacks, okay? So what does that mean? Let's say I have a Ravager on the field, a 6-drop Dark Broly Revived Ravager. I attack with the Ravager, that's 1 attack. Evolve, untap. When you evolve with him, he untaps, so he gets he gets an additional attack in. Whether his effect will trigger or not, it doesn't matter. It's good when it does, right? That's another attack. And then from my drop area, I can summon another Ravager, granted, provided I hadn't summoned one already that turn, because I don't have one on the field, you know what I mean? So that's 3 at 30Ks. That, for 2 energy, that is 3 attacks versus 1 attack for Demigra. That's another scenario where the 7-drop is better. The third scenario is if my opponent is at 3 life and I clear his board, then I can play Dark Broly. If your opponent doesn't have any cards on board, then they don't have the option. They have to crit the life. If I can crit them from 3 to 2, any attack now becomes game because of FDC. So when my opponent is at 3 and I'm going to try to clear their board, something like a Secret Identity, and then I'm going to play the Dark Broly, and then I'm going to attack, they're going to have a negate for every single attack. Because I only have to push 1 attack through, the likelihood of me winning is just much higher than having to push 2 attacks through, if that makes sense. So those are just off the top of my head. Those are the 3 scenarios in which the 7-drop is better. Now, starting from turn 2, your opponent is going to be somewhere between 8 and 6 life. Demigra is just always a better choice. If your opponent is at 3 or 4 life, then probably Dark Broly might be the better choice, because if you summon him on turn 2 and your opponent's at 8 life, they're just going to crit a life and not care. Whereas Demigra plus 3s and then also just deals the damage. Like, this 30k attack is definitely going through, so he's dealing the damage either way. So I've seen, again, that's like a common question I've had asked. Just learn which card to play when, and both of them will just elevate the status of your deck. And finally, I mean, this is my list for set 12. I don't care about posting it. If you've paid attention to any of my other lists, it's the exact same, except I added 3 cards. I added 2 7-drops and 1 secret rare. I cut 3 random cards that weren't that important in the deck. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to keep playing this. I'm going to play this at the pre-release tournament. I feel like I'm going to win if people are playing stupid set 12 decks. I still probably, lose in finals to the mirror match. Who knows? You know what I mean? I'm going to have this Shenron's Lair link in the description if you want to copy the deck and change it up and test it yourself. I don't mind posting the deck list. I really don't care. I'm not trying to hide information from anybody. It's not like there's any like crazy big regional tournaments I care about going on right now anyway. So, if you disagree with anything I said, feel free to comment and let me know why. Again, like I said, I don't have a crystal ball to look into the future and tell you that Turles is actually the best green deck because of X, Y, and Z. Or maybe Whis is better than I think it is, and you want to tell me why, okay? Anything I said, if you disagree, let me know. I would love to conversate with you guys. I'm interested in hearing other people's opinions. If you like my deck, let me know. If you have any changes, suggestions, if you want to talk about Dark Broly, you can hit me up here. Bro, you can even message me. I'm in the Dragon Ball group. If you want to PM me some questions about Dark Broly, bro, go ahead. I don't mind. If you want more Dark Broly content, like I said, I did 2 episodes with the Hermit Style podcast. They're like an hour long each. We go super in depth into matchups. There's a lot of good information. I'll have a link to those. You can check out some of our other videos. We have other Dark Broly videos on the channel where I talk more in depth about the deck. I have one with Rashad, who is also an incredibly talented Dark Broly player. He actually won PPG Tampa with Dark Broly, so he knows what he's talking about with the deck. Like us on Facebook, Bad Beats CCG. Subscribe to us. I'm going to provide a link to our Discord as well. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. EST, we have a webcam tournament. It's only $6 to enter, and the prize is cash. And so the more people enter, the bigger the prize payout is going to be. If you're missing your locals right now due to COVID or due to anything that's been going on, and you want you miss that Dragon Ball community, meeting up with cool people to play cards, we're trying to provide that for you guys every Thursday. Um, I've been playing in the tournaments. They're a lot of fun. Just a lot of cool people playing Dragon Ball. Nothing bad going on. You know what I mean? So, uh, like I said, I hope you guys like the video. Anything you want to comment, I'd love to interact with you all. Other than that, have a happy holiday and have a good day.